From the News Channel 5 Network, this is Morning Line with Nick Barris.
Good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining us on Morning Line. Nick Barris here with you on a Tuesday, and we have got a good show on tap, as always. The day will come, perhaps, or do you think, where I would say we have a lousy show on tap? No, never, ever going to say it. It's always a good show, some different than others, but this is a regular program where we try to help as many of you as possible. And if you're tuning in right now, you might want to share with some of your friends who have questions or comments about, among other things, the stimulus, especially as it relates to seniors. And there are questions about whether this new stimulus plan is going to include, those on SSI, Social Security, disability, and that type of thing, which the answer, by the way, more or less yes, even though the final plan has not yet been completed, but it will be before the end of the week and when you'll get the payment. We're going to touch on that a lot with some other issues going on right now, specifically, legal issues as it pertains to seniors. Our elder law attorney extraordinaire joining us this morning, Barbara McGinnis with Takis and McGinnis. Good morning to you, Barbara. It is nice to see you.
Good morning, Nick. It's nice to be here.
Listen, just thought we'd take off on the top. We may get a few questions. The phone lines are open. Before we get into probate and some other things that I know we want to touch on this morning, just your thoughts and what you're telling some of your clients, if they've asked, with regard to a third stimulus payment, which we believe is going to come. And I get a lot of these questions on my Facebook page from seniors saying, well, Nick, will it go to the same place where I get my Social Security benefit or my disability? And will I qualify again? Will I get a payment if I don't pay taxes? Things like that. And I just don't know if you've had some questions from some of your clients and how you're helping them.
I haven't had a lot of questions this time about it, really. I sense that people are a little numb to the all the political storylines and trying to follow the bouncing ball of what's going on in Washington. But it does appear that if you received a stimulus check, if you're an older adult receiving Social Security or SSI, my guess is that you are going to receive another check. And this one, like the last time, if you are an SSI recipient or a Medicaid I don't want to say beneficiary, but a person receiving Medicaid benefits, people worry about being over-resourced to continue to receive those means-tested public benefits.
Right.
SSI and Medicaid are public benefits that have a resource cap and an income cap. I do often get questions about how the stimulus check impacts those benefits. And the answer is, in the month that money is received, it is considered income, but unlike ordinary income, it is not counted as a resource in the following month. So instead of having 30 days to spend down extra money, these people have a full 12 months to spend down this extra money.
Okay.
And so whether it was $1,200, $600, or $1,400, that's not hard to spend that kind of money over the course of 12 months. So you don't have to worry about it making you over-resourced, at least in the short run. You've got a full 12 months.
I'm really glad you mentioned that, because I've had questions and I didn't know the answer to that. That's great to know. Another part of it seems like they've added to this new one is that dependents now will be getting a check. And there are some seniors out there who are claimed perhaps by their children or others as dependents, and in the past they were not getting a check. It looks like this time, Barbara, they're going to get a check. They'll qualify this time, even if they're dependents.
I agree. I think that's entirely possible, because I was reading something recently that even children could receive some check.
That's
Parents may receive a check, children may receive a check. So even if it is an older adult that is claimed as a dependent to someone else, sometimes children support their parents to the extent that they can claim them as a dependent. So those people would probably even get a check this time.
Listen, all right, we've covered that. We may get a few questions. And before we get to some other things, I wanted just to ask you this, because I have a good friend who's dealing with this, a situation where he has a mother who's to the point now where she likely is not going to be able to continue living on her own. Not that she's thrilled with that idea, but the idea for her now would be to start considering some type of assisted living facility. And this is a situation where they don't have a lot of income. And so it may be something where she's going to have to get on a list to one of these nursing homes, or possibly because of her husband's service to one of the VA facilities. And I'm just curious, when family members come and say, look, Barbara, we have our elderly loved one who's getting to this stage in her life, how do they go about the process of starting this? Do they need to get on a waiting list? Do they need to, how do they spend down so if they just, to the point, don't have the resources to pay the thousands of dollars it takes at some point if they're destitute, where Medicaid may be able to help them pay for their nursing home care? How do you help them with that?
It's a question that we help families with every day, as you can imagine. And we always start the process of analyzing and planning for that situation around how is that elder functioning? And oftentimes children perceive their parents to be more dependent than they actually are. You know, like when kids come in and they're recognizing some deficits in their parent, and we're talking, and I say, so tell me what your parent can do. And they're like, oh, they can't do anything. They're totally dependent. And we start unpacking, what does that mean to them? And it means, oh, they can't go grocery shopping anymore, or they are not physically strong enough to do house cleaning and a lot of meal prep, but they still bathe or dress themselves. So big variety there. So we kind of frame that in a continuum, if you could imagine, from being completely independent. You can do everything for yourself, all those independent activities of daily living, like managing telephones, managing your bills, managing your medicines, and all of those kind of things, to being completely dependent in activities of daily living, like bathing, dressing, toileting, and feeding themselves. So there is this wide variety, and we need to think about how dependent that person really is, because nobody wants to live in a setting that is more restrictive or than what's necessary. It's like people like to be independent, and they certainly like to be in their own home. So the first thing you look at is, can you bring care or services into the home so that that older person can continue to be independent and live in their home? So there's lots of assistance out there, whether it's skilled home health for physical therapy or occupational therapy. Incidentally, occupational therapy has nothing to do with trying to get someone employed. It may be somewhat of a little misnomer. Occupational therapy has to do with fine motor skills and helping folks with activities of daily living, becoming independent again. So skilled therapy at home, non-skilled, custodial type caregivers that could come in and help with bathing or come in and help with house management. There's a wide variety of services that you can bring into the home to help someone stay safe and independent. Then the next step would be perhaps an independent living environment. Those are congregate home settings where you might have lots of older adults living together, and they get housekeeping services and meal prep, and you have some organized transportation and activities, and then we've got just that security and supervision kind of thing available. Next step would be assisted living, where they actually help with activities of daily living, somebody that needs help with bathing, dressing, maybe even toileting, and med management. So you've got lots of steps in between before you get to full nursing home care.
Med management's a big one.
Nursing home care med management is a big one for keeping people healthy, because
they forget.
Not living. Well, they do, and there's lots of technology that helps with that, so that you could stay at home, even automated pill boxes and things like that.
But explain to people
lots
this.
Of steps before you get to nursing home.
All of those are going to cost, okay, to some degree. And some people may have some means savings and the like. But be real clear, there's still a misnomer out there among many thinking, well, when I retire someday, you know, and I can't live alone, if I can't, you know, the federal government will pay for me to stay. And that there is some truth to that, but you have to be destitute to even get onto one of those lists, meaning you can no longer have any assets. You can't have a bank account and expect, oh, well, Social Security pick up my tab for nursing home. Doesn't work that way. You can't own a house, okay, and go ahead and have them cover it. Now, if all of a sudden you have zero income in your bank accounts and no assets and basically have no remaining money left, then you can maybe qualify as it then for Medicare coverage?
No, Medicare is a federal insurance program that most
Medicaid, then.
People over the age of 65 qualify for because they've worked enough credit hours to receive that benefit, or they're married to someone that's worked enough credit hours. So Medicare is really an acute care-based program. It does not pay for long-term care. That's actually one of the first myths about paying for long-term care that folks come in here with, is they think Medicare is going to pay for something. And don't count on Medicare to pay for really any kind of long-term care. Medicaid is what you're talking about. People that have very, very limited resources, do they qualify for Medicaid? In our state, we call that TennCare. And there's you know, to oversimplify things, there's two really big parts of TennCare. There's TennCare insurance that some people qualify for. But I think what you're talking about is the Choices program inside of the TennCare, the larger TennCare benefit. And Choices is what helps folks pay for long-term care, whether it's at home or in a nursing home. The financial qualifications, the financial criteria, we have an income threshold in this state. So if you make more than $23.82 a month gross, then you don't qualify from an income standpoint. There is a provision, though, to work around that, and we help families with that. Now, when I say work around that, I mean using the rules from TennCare that says how do we work around that, and it's called a qualified income trust. And there's also a net worth threshold.
Yeah. Oh, I was going to say, I want to pick up, we have to go to a break on that, but what you're just describing there is exactly, thanks to your office, you referred me to an attorney in Boise, Idaho, who is doing that exact thing for our folks, because they're not finding loopholes. It's basically under the rules, but as you spend down, there's a way an attorney, and they're helping us set this up for them, because they're in a Medicaid qualified facility that they've been living at, but eventually they're going to burn through their money. And when they do, then all they'll have is their entitlements, their Social Security and the like, and then Medicaid will pick up the rest of the tab, is the way it's supposed to work. And that's what our attorney's doing for us.
We'll talk about how that works in this state when we come back.
Yeah, and it does. You're great point. Varies from state to state. We'll take a break and we'll come back. Barbara McGinnis knows her stuff. With us, we've got a few phone calls as well. We'll grab them. We've come back right off the bat so they don't wait any longer, and we'll dig into more of these issues on Morning Line. The number 737-7587. More right after this.